Yeah, image input still in research preview, not publicly available, and improve steerability and customization. So via the system message, which we discussed in the previous one. So they're the main highlights. I just wanted to cover all those off at the beginning of the video. And Nate, I'll hand it over to you. You want to can show an example or something?
Yeah, so I thought we'd start with a pretty fun one to start out with. So there's this footnote in the
Oh yeah,
technical paper, which is blows your mind. If you stand back and think about what this actually means, they're talking about creating.
just zoom it in a little bit if you can.
Yeah,
Just
should be able to. Yeah, so yeah, to simulate, I'll read it out and we can go from there. I don't know what's happened to my face there, but let's sort that out.
it's pretty funny.
So to simulate GPT-4 behaving like an agent that can act in the world, ARC, which is a research council, we should find a definition for ARC, Alignment Research Center. There we go. So that's the group that's focused on trying to make it not a psychopath, but rather aligned with human values. ARC, which I think if you were in this organization and you worked for the can you imagine how they would orientate this differently from military applications?
Yeah,
It would be totally aligned with a different set of goals.
yeah.
So you can imagine different government organizations aligning this totally differently. So I think it's quite, yeah, just taking a step back. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see where this is headed.
It's interesting, before you go into detail about that particular footnote, there is already governments using this across the world. It is, yeah, it's, I'm trying to put it on the
It's
website.
like a hammer, right? You can use a hammer for good or for bad. So I'm not in any way against using the technology, but it's just interesting to think how it could be aligned differently. Anyway, we'll come back to that. That's a whole nother point. But the point of this footnote is that I'll finish the footnote and then we'll. So the Alignment Research Center combined GPT-4 with a simple read execute print loop that allowed the model to execute code, do chain of thought reasoning, and delegate to copies of itself. ARC then investigated whether a version of this program running on a cloud computing service with a small amount of money and an account with a language model API would be able to make more money, set up copies of itself, and increase its own robustness. So, in human speak, what they did, they set up a team leader to come up with a strategy. Because this team leader isn't a human, it's software. It can copy itself and it's general enough that it can take on any role. So anything that it can imagine, say it needs a programmer, it can create a copy of itself and ask it to be a programmer and assign tasks to it. And then it can create an infinite number, constrained only by the amount of money it has, of agents to do these different tasks to execute and improve itself.
And you can
And
only imagine that the goal was also to make more money. I took that away from there, but I'm not, it doesn't say that in there.
I guess
Oh,
make
it
more
does.
money
It
is
says
just a
would
proxy,
be able
like,
to make more money, set up copies of itself, and increase its own robustness over time. So
yeah,
maximize its return on investment.
yeah. Yeah, I assume there was some sort of benevolent kind of if you just go make money, you could become a Nigerian scammer and make money that way, and GPT-4 could probably be quite effective in that particular kind of arena. So,
Until
yeah,
the market catches on, and yeah, and then it's no longer effective because the market's just as smart as GPT-4.
yeah, yeah. So there is that aspect of it. I'm just gonna
Yeah, so we just found that curious in the paper.